They have by far the highest ceiling out of any team in the league. Elite talent, NBA shot making, versatility, and the best coach in the league in John Shire. They can beat you in multiple ways. Half court, full court, run and gun, walk it up. And they out-execute you, maybe except for that game versus Texas Tech.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Coleman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Donnie? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
GameTime Decisions live on SportsGrid here with you as we close out the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Kevin Walsh live from the Decisions desk, and it is a battle in Pittsburgh between the Steelers and Texans. The winner will go to New England next week. You look at the pedigree between these two football teams, and in totality, it heavily favors the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin, a Super Bowl winning head coach. Aaron Rodgers, a Super Bowl MVP with the Green Bay Packers. In recent history, the Texans are the proven team. C.J. Stroud, in each of his first two NFL seasons, has made the playoffs and won a playoff game. He looks to make that 3 for 3 tonight with D'Amico Ryans, who has been his head coach each of these first three seasons. All in all, if you are somebody with a future on this team, either one of these teams, you're probably sitting on a big-time number. And you've probably, after watching Pat's Chargers close out the Sunday slate, feel like you've got an opportunity here to go into Foxborough and pull off that upset. And we will break this game down, best bets, angles, everything that will jump off of the page that is this football game. We will, of course, re-rack the weekend that was. We mentioned Pat's Chargers closing out Sunday night as Justin Herbert moves on to 0-3 in his postseason career. I don't know, did he just play the best game of his playoff career? It's on the board. They only scored 3 points. That's how bad it has been. It advances Drake May. We saw Josh Allen advance past Trevor Lawrence and set up a date with the Denver Broncos. If you look within this AFC playoffs now, Denver, an idle Broncos team, has been jumped by not one, but both of the AFC East teams as the market sits in the Pats and the Bills. An overreaction, a chance to jump in on Denver, or does the market have this right? In the NFC side, Saturday delivered some classics. Games that you will remember fondly, especially if you are a Chicago Bear or LA Ram fan. Stafford threw 3 touchdowns, really 4. I don't know why it had to be a rush play on the second Puka Nacua touchdown of that football game. The late touchdown to Colby Parkinson, the difference, and it really clears the runway here for the Los Angeles Rams to almost retake their status as Super Bowl favorites. I think the Rams may have done that if they were on their way to Seattle. Instead, it is the Seahawks who are set up right now as Super Bowl favorites due to being a full touchdown, some spots touchdown and a half favorite against the San Francisco 49ers as the Niners go into Philadelphia and put the Eagles out of their misery. A great win for the Niners that really makes this a triumph of a season. Of course, they lost another superstar. They only have so many more they can lose in the victory. George Kittle early on in this game in the first half, injured on his lone catch of the matchup, and it just didn't matter. They kept on coming. Juwan Jennings with a 45-yard trick play, or 29-yard trick play, passing touchdown, to Christian McCaffrey. And it made the difference in this football game. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, the issues that they've had remained. An offense that can start hot and poorly, a coordinator who has no feel for the game, and a head coach who offers up nothing but negatives at this point. Nick Sirianni, even kind of like one final, just so everybody knows I'm lost move, as the Eagles were slow to get to the line on a 4th and an 11, with 43 seconds on the clock, having 3 timeouts at their disposal, take a timeout. A miracle, yes, if you don't get that play, that you are going to have the Niners run 3 plays, stuff all 3 plays, and get a punt back your direction. But you end up in this situation where you don't even give yourself that life because you take that timeout early. It's just a horrific season that will assuredly lead to the firing, of Kevin Patullo. I believe should lead to the firing of Nick Sirianni, though that is not supremely likely. At least that is the early scuttlebutt right now around the National Football League. Now, perhaps tonight, and again, I think most of you are locked and loaded on this game between the Texans and the Steelers. It's NFL playoff football. But you might be taking a peek around the rest of the card. The NBA slate tonight offers up Luka and the Lakers. You've got Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks. We'll see if Jaylen Brown goes tonight for the Boston Celtics. The best game, maybe you'd argue, Raptors-Sixers, who played a great one yesterday. Tyrese Maxey kill shot in the 4th quarter somehow led to a Raptors overtime victory. Classic Sixers this season. We'll feature the NBA slate tonight. If you are interested in betting on the NHL slate, you do have Connor Bedard, who very recently returned to action. His first game back, pretty quiet, but 2 points on 2 assists in his second game back is head-to-head tonight with McDavid and the Oilers. So a plentiful slate that you can see there. If you're looking for college hoops, it's an off night primarily. Now, some of you out there who love college basketball, maybe you find value in the SWAC, the MEAC, the Southland, then this slate is for you. But that's what you're getting on the college side. Just quickly, with the mention of college, you did have big news out of college football earlier today. Sam Leavitt is going to go to LSU, the former Arizona State quarterback who nearly pulled off an upset a season ago against Texas in the college football playoff. Down year for the Sun Devils. He was injured throughout the season. His star receiver, Jordan Tyson, was as well. They did not have the year they were hoping for. He, though, is now going to join Lane Kiffin in Baton Rouge. Maybe the bigger story of the day, though, is Dylan Raiola, the former Nebraska quarterback, goes to Oregon and now waits to find out, is he in line for the starting job, or will Dante Moore be back with the Ducks? A very legitimate question that will have a huge impact on 2026 college football national championship odds. The Ducks will be near the top likely regardless, but returning your quarterback will make a difference, and if Dante Moore is back in Eugene, it will matter. But this is also a huge deal when we talk about NFL draft odds that are out already. Fernando Mendoza, who is a gaining favorite, the third best odds belong to Ruben Bain at 50-1. Dante Moore is the only other player not at that number. It looks like Mendoza can pretty much already punch his ticket to being the first player selected in the NFL draft if Dante Moore is back at Oregon. Though, with Dylan Raiola there, the Ducks are set up to, allow, maybe Dante Moore says, you know what, I'm good, I'm happy to go. They'll be fine. It's a very interesting balance Dan Lanning and that team will need to make. We'll keep it football. We will lock in on the matchup tonight between the Houston Texans and the Pittsburgh Steelers. CJ Stroud versus Aaron Rodgers. The best bets, the angles, the movement, a low total. Of course, right? We just watched a 16-3 game, and now we step into by far the lowest total of the wild card round in this game tonight. We'll cover every single angle next here on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Game time decisions here on SportsGrid. We've got good weather tonight in Pittsburgh. I almost said here in Pittsburgh. We've got good weather tonight though in Pittsburgh, which is nice to see. A late night here, East Coast. You wonder what that's going to look like. Supposed to look clean right now. A field goal number here. This number has had some hook out there at some point, but not a lot. 39.5. They've come down 38.5. There's a flat 38 right now is what we are seeing. So the side battle, right? I think it comes down to, I feel as if most people are capping this game through the lens of the Steelers, whether they are on or against them regardless. I think those who are on Pittsburgh are not desperate to fade Stroud and the Texans. They believe that Mike Tomlin can work magic. And he's not lost a home Monday night game in his career, so why would he start now? They believe that Rodgers and his pedigree perhaps are just destined to go on a run. And that this Steelers defense, with tons of veterans, T.J. Watt to Cam Hayward to Jalen Ramsey, can find plays in this game, right? That is the belief of those who are on Pittsburgh. Those who are not absolutely believe in this Texans defense, but you probably just do not believe in this Pittsburgh team fully. That they have countless times shown to be who they always are, which is not a threat. They find ways to pull off stunning upsets and find ways to lose games they have no business losing. Their offense is uninspiring. Their defense is gettable. All of these things, both sides of it, really is true, which is why I almost think, in a sneaky way, the truth, the path forward is to find out what you really believe in this Texans team. And I think we all believe that this defense is special. And it has been throughout this season. And it's a caliber of defense that could legitimately go on a run. Not just win here, but win next week in New England. The gap in the hypothetical spreads that are out there right now, full 4 points. Pats 5.5 at a minus 120, by the way, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A 1.5 point spread projected against the Houston Texans. I do, though, and I can't help myself because they're hypothetical lines, but that says the books are telling you that the difference between the Patriots, the Texans and Steelers is 4. Tonight, Houston is laying 3. Are you telling me home field advantage in the playoffs is worth 1 point? That can't be. Now, I think the answer is probably somewhere in the hypothetical lines are actually not going to be that informative. They very well could be upgrading, what Pittsburgh would be and what a win would mean for them. Because I think the gap between the Texans and Steelers might be bigger than 4, but it also might just be New England should be laying more to Pittsburgh than that 5.5 number would ever suggest, and you don't want to get too caught up within it. As I look through this game as somebody who's felt that Houston would get the job done here, you try and carry that into the props market, though, and where could we see some value? And I am very drawn to the future Hall of Famer and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has completed 21 or more passes in 5 consecutive games to close out the season. That pass completions prop has moved up a bit. He has thrown 34 or more times in 4 of the final 5 games, and he's gone for 40 plus in 3 of them. He's thrown it at least 39 times in the final 3 games of the regular season. And I know that Houston's pass rush is scary, but I think about how the Steelers are going to attack this team, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be countless downfield DK Metcalf shots. I like Metcalf's under tonight, that number at 56.5. I think it's a legitimate look. But it's, when you're watching a game and they always talk about how the passing game, certain plays are just, and it's just a run play, but it's really a pass, an extension of the run game. Quick hitters, not just Kenneth Gainwell, but Jalen Warren, I think are very on the board. I really do. I think that the Jalen Warren receiving props are super tempting. When Warren is out there, they'll be expecting run. I think that makes him on a screen very live. Kenneth Gainwell, we expect to be involved in the receiving game. I don't know if he will be involved as much as the market suggests, because Kenneth Gainwell basically had to step up and be a pseudo wide receiver one in the Metcalf absence over the final 2 weeks of football. In the game against Baltimore, Gainwell caught 8 passes. It's a lot. Probably not going to be that many here in this matchup. So Rodgers tonight, from a completions and attempts angle, really speaks to me. When I have to decide between the two, I think the attempts a little more eye-catching, because it's hard to see a world where Rodgers is 30 for 35, right? I think he'll throw it into the ground if need be, and if I expect them to be losing, I expect them to be throwing, but not throwing as effectively necessarily. So that is what is jumping off of the page in this game to me. Though Stroud is interesting as well. I think both quarterbacks profile here. C.J. Stroud's been a bounce-back quarterback now if you look for a while. He threw for 318 against San Fran, 79 the next week against Denver. Now, he got injured in that football game, but he came right back and threw for 276, 203, 260, $187, 244, $169 against the Colts. I didn't play the full game. So, again, some of the numbers are a little wonky, but you've seen that bounce-back nature for Stroud. A Steelers secondary that's looked vulnerable. Could they be vulnerable to deep shots tonight to Nico Collins? I think it's on the board. Let's put our best bets for tonight on this board next here on SportsGrid.
Maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Loop, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
Game time decisions back right here on SportsGrid. Let's put some picks on the board here. Boys in the back cooked up a little primetime producer parlay, as they often do on a Monday night. Let's hope they send it out in style. Nico Collins for 70. That'll belong to Kofsky. Yarnelli with a Gainwell 30-plus in the pocket. And then an Adam Thielen under 1.5 receptions from AJ. That gets you a little bit better than 4-1. AJ hot on these Thielen under receptions. I I like the idea of tossing an under prop in there and making everybody sweat it out, especially if the other two legs come in quite easily. You have a full game of watching Adam Thielen routes. Hey, worse ways to spend a Monday night. Let's take a look around the rest of the board here, what perhaps you could still be betting on this. You know what, actually? Let's do best bets. Let's do best bets here because AJ's going to back the Steelers on the money line. So he's going to roll with Tomlin and the boys. Chris stays in game and goes with Collins anytime touchdown. I think Nico could certainly be in line for a big game here. He feels like a big game performer and someone that Stroud will trust in this spot. Buffalo Sam with a Josh Dohan point prop. Like I said, Josh Dohan crushed it. Plus 104. Let's get his CV pulled up here. 30 points on the season, 14 goals, 16 assists. He's at a point in 5 straight. I don't understand. Is he the best player in hockey? Or is he due to fall apart? From Scottsdale, Arizona, Josh Dohan. All right. You rooting that in. Give me the Mavericks team total over 111.5 tonight. A perfect spot here for not just Dallas's offense, but to fade this Brooklyn defense. The Nets on the second leg of a back-to-back simply do not guard. This has been going on all season for this team. They are on a bit of a little mini road trip here. A younger group who will not be at full force. And then you get Dallas at home, who averages nearly 118 points per game since December when they play in Dallas. This is a 500 basketball team at home. I feel very good about this Mavericks group getting well through a 111.5 number here tonight. Other options on the NBA, we mentioned Raptors, Sixers off the top. That's a 3.5 point spread for Philly on the road here. That number influenced a little bit due to that back-to-back nature, going to leave out some of these guys on the Toronto side. Lakers are in Sacramento. Kings on the second leg of a back-to-back. Lakers could really use a win here. They've dropped 2 in a row, got smashed by San Antonio on the second leg of a back-to-back, and then Milwaukee and Giannis actually went into Los Angeles and pulled off a little bit of an upset. Your slate will begin in Cleveland. The Cavs, Jazz, 249.5. Oh, my goodness, man. The Utah Jazz just recently gave up 150 points in regulation to the Charlotte Hornets. The only player on Charlotte to score 20 was Trey Mann. He scored exactly that. The entire starting 5 for the Hornets in that game scored double digits, as well as 4 players off the bench. And Grant Williams, who knew he was still kicking, gave you 9 off the pine as well. We'll see if Cleveland sleepwalks to a 130 spot tonight against Utah. Coming up on our show, we will actually speak to someone who is attempting to, I think, grab claim to the premier NBA bettor on this network in a one Donnie Right side, as he routinely, during the best bet segment, gives out winners in the NBA. And let me be the first to say, I'd love for Donnie to stick to that lane instead of calling out possible Eagle opponents, because that, for sure, immediately came back to bite us, as Donnie, for months, told everyone the Niners were one and done. I, with a Niners future, didn't even disagree, so I let him do it. Then they played the Eagles, and I'm like, great, hopefully Donnie will be right. And instead, we're here on a Monday, getting ready to not just preview Texans Steelers, but figure out what in the world happened to the defending Super Bowl champions, who brought back a lot of the same and gave us a lot of bad this season. That's next, and it's right here on Game Time Decisions.
maybe the fact was that the kicker just blew a 44-yard field goal. Now, by the way, I feel horrible for this kid, Tyler Luke, who made every single field goal this season 44 yards or less. But the extra point that was missed just before that by Chris Boswell was the only extra point that he missed all season long. So did they bless that same holy water when Boswell missed the extra point? Come on, guys. Let's get it.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
They have one more win than Chicago, and they literally beat Chicago in Week 17, and yet the Niners are on the road and the Bears are at home. Why? Because of an outdated rule that says, well, winning your division is the holy grail. Rewarding an 8-win division winner with a home playoff game is like giving the corner office to the guy who won the office fantasy pool instead of the guy who actually closed the accounts all year.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box, but I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today. Only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
All right, here with you on SportsGrid on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh joined by Donnie Rightside, of course, leading the charge on the early line. DRS, I am sure you have already sung many of songs around the Eagles and what was. Just, can you give the people a little insight, though, really, into, what that watching experience was like yesterday as they met the San Francisco 49ers?
Here's the tough part about it, Kevin. Like last year, it was a magic carpet ride every single regular season game through the playoffs. It was so much fun. They were so explosive. They were setting records. They were smashing everybody they could play, where, yes, occasionally got really upset with a game or a play call, but that was really rare. This year, it felt like nails on a chalkboard every single game, hoping it would get better the next game, and it just didn't. And I heard your preamble, and you're right, and I do have to eat a little bit of crow. The Niners are the worst team left in the playoffs outside the Panthers. Quite frankly, I think the Panthers would ice them up this week. But hear me out on this. You just can't be dead in the water and expect to win football games against a team with a great coach and a great scheme. The 49ers were the better team yesterday, and I don't even think it was close after a while. Like George Kittle goes out of that game, it's like they have nothing left in the tank. Oh, yeah? The Eagles were already running on empty by the time that happened yesterday. So the Eagles got put out of their misery. And quite frankly, I slept like a baby last night.
Well, that makes one of us. Because I think the reality is the Eagles being put out of their misery. It's exactly that, though. They self-inflicted wounds that defined an entire season. We had the people who understand football being aware that Kevin Patullo was an issue, Donnie, a month into the season. And Nick Sirianni decided to stick with Kevin Patullo the whole way. And an offensive head coach could not come in and fix anything that was going on with the offense being broken. Everyone knows Kevin Patullo will be fired. Quite frankly, I think here's my take, Donnie. The fact they haven't announced Patullo's fired is a bad sign for Nick Sirianni that he might not be keeping his job.
I don't know what sign it is, but Sirianni's not going to be fired. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, Doug Peterson did win a Super Bowl and was like, I love Press Taylor. And they go, well, we don't. Well, I'm not going to get rid of him. Well, now you're out the door. Because Nick Sirianni, say what you want, is a very good coach. Honestly, because you just look at the record and how he got that team to play on a week-to-week basis. It's not easy to say, hey, I coached 5 years, made the playoffs every year, multiple Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl here, and a couple NFC championship title games. That's hard to do. But understand this. Nick Sirianni is the mojo behind the brain trust of the Philadelphia Eagles, which is basically nothing an offensive coordinator. And this year it feels like Vic Fangio was the brain trust. Understand this. The Eagles do have a pattern in this. Let's go out and get to a Super Bowl with a really good coordinator. Oh, let's go in-house. Ooh, that didn't work well. Let's go get a really offensive coordinator. Hey, let's go back to the Super Bowl and win one. Ooh, let's go with an in-house guy. That didn't work. So you know what's going to happen next year? A bona fide world-class offensive coordinator that's going to use the Eagles for one season, win a lot of games, and then go be a head coach.
But, Donnie, then why in the world would they keep Sirianni? Because most fans don't know who. No, you don't need a yes man. You need a coach that can coach football, and Sirianni appears to be completely incapable of that. I have no idea who the 49ers offensive coordinator is, the Rams offensive coordinator is. Well, exactly, Donnie, right? Yeah. But every team has an offensive coordinator. Having no stability with an offensive-minded head coach who can't make good in-game decisions cost the Eagles an entire season.
No, you're right. There's nothing I disagree with you with, but it's hard to get rid of a coach that he does have something that works because nobody's won more than Nick Sirianni, basically for the first 5 years of his career. And you could say, well, it's good defensive coordinator, it's the GM. He's still the head coach. He's going to get credit for that. Now understand how you're going to work moving forward. I always agree, Kevin. Like people thought, oh, you can't. Dan Campbell should have been fired the minute Ben Johnson said he wanted to leave and be a head coach somewhere else because Ben Johnson is the head coach in Detroit. They're way, way better at this point here. And you could argue and say, well, if we would have just let Kellen Moore stay in town and fired Nick Sirianni, they probably would have had a much better season. You always should keep the hot play caller in town because that's what matters. You can find a good general manager sometimes. You can find a great DC that falls off on, basically drops like an apple from a tree. You can't find good play callers here. So when you have one, you got to keep one. We'll see if the Eagles can justify that next year. But
I think, again, it is bizarre to me, Donnie, that you are right to point out the cycle. Yeah. Why the Eagles would willingly sign up for that cycle again. Like, that to me seems like a bad order of operations. Howie Roseman is supposed to be better than that, Donnie. Why would he run into that same wall again? Like, that's where I would be. But let me ask you this, DRS. When you're kind of sorting out the blame for this Eagles season, do you think I'm putting too much on coaching and more of it should be on certain players?
Let's understand this one thing. The Eagles went from having a high-priced motor vehicle up front of 5 linemen that would run you over to, we can't block anybody at any time. And maybe it just feels like Lane Johnson should move past Tom Brady as the best football player of all time based on him missing games and they can't move the football. But I do think if we're going like schematically, Kevin, it's 75% the offensive play caller, which was what was wrong with this offense this year. I believe that. Because tell me this, Ben Johnson and or Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay calling plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to score way more points than they did because if you scheme great athletes open, everything works, and the defense has no answers on a play-to-play basis. When you can just hone in and say, well, we're just going to blitz up the middle because Jalen doesn't like to throw up the middle and we'll roll him out of the pocket and he throws it away. For me, a lot of it was schematics, but I still don't understand. Jeff Stoutland's supposed to be known as the best offensive line coach in football. They couldn't block anybody this year. So I don't know what. Did 16 players on offense collectively just say to themselves, we just lost a step this year, we're not good anymore? Because A.J. Brown, he looks stiff and unexplosive, and I can't put my finger on it.
No, I mean, A.J. did not look himself for most of this season. There was a little bit of a stretch where he came on. And look, I think A.J. Brown ended up reaping a bit of what he sowed a little bit in this game. It also doesn't help, though, when he gets reamed out by the head coach and then proceeds to not catch a football the rest of the way. Like, that didn't work, right? Donnie, I've been made this point. It looked like, when Saban would try and pretend like the game against, the Citadel mattered, so he'd yell at somebody. It's like, dude, cut it out. Or the Signetti scowl, like they're up 40 and he's acting like he's really angry about a holding call. And it's a gimmick. I can't believe people fall for the gimmick. But that's what it's a gimmick. Sirianni is so clueless. He's ripping his star wide receiver in a playoff game. That doesn't work. No, that doesn't work for anybody. That's awful. That's bad. Donnie, he's supposed to be a vibes guy. They have the worst vibes in football.
Yeah, that's what has won them in the past. But quite frankly, I don't care about him yelling about A.J. Brown in that game. You go deep in alligator arm a ball, and then you lollygag off the field, which basically they can't run their punting team out there and get a penalty. You're going to hear about that. And when things aren't going well, things start to spill over. And you can say what you want. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have done that or go over to him. A.J. Brown deserved that. He was playing bad. And I love Philadelphia Radio to well, yeah, he's a contentious wide receiver. You can't do that. Well, if the coach saying, Get your blankety blank off the field. I think you just alligator arm the ball and you're lollygagging out there, and that doesn't turn you on. I'm going to question your heart at wide receiver. Look, I'm part of the wide receiver fraternity. I was a great wide receiver at one time. Me and A.J. Brown got a kinship. And yes, sometimes my coach screamed at me from the other practice field because I didn't run a slant correctly and thought nobody was watching me. You know what? I'm not going to do that again. Come on, A.J., you got to catch the ball.
Tell me this, DRS, because we'll get into Texans Steelers in the next segment. Do you feel after yesterday's game now this is a Niners team that could maybe actually go on a run? Did they show you something in the win?
No, they're running to Cancun next week. That team stinks. The Eagles just stunk even worse. By the way, Doug, you said you loved the 49ers. Let me tell you something here. If the Rams came to town yesterday, that might have been 41-10 Rams. We're lucky that we had a bad football team coming to town like the 49ers so we can actually have a competitive game. Next week, good luck with that. See if they get their 3 points again like they scored 2 weeks ago against Seattle.
I think I think it's very obvious that their defense is bad. I do think there's a chance, Donnie, or I actually would say I right now expect their offense to be much better against Seattle's second go-around. Just because I think Shanahan's going to continue to call a loose game, and I think it's hard to hold down a play caller of that level and an offense that's still – and they get Trent Williams back, which they didn't have in Week 18. Like, I think their offense is going to put forward a higher ceiling in that game than what is right now probably being projected. But, yeah, defensively, despite only giving up 19 – gosh, if Jake Elliott's going to retire, by the way, quickly, like, what's that about? Like, can we, my goodness.
Sirianni loves his back.
Yeah, I'm sure. Great. Awesome. Big Dom will call the plays next year. We'll do tonight's game next.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Giggles that Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions on SportsGrid, joined by the early lines, Donnie Rightside. DRS taking a look here at the matchup between Pittsburgh and Houston. Field goal spread. Is this? But now we're getting some 2.5 out here. Yep. Expensive. What are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised because, the opening, and I like to read the line when it opens. That was a stone cold Houston line when it opened. I'm like, wait a second, I don't understand this. Dome team going outdoors, Aaron Rodgers at home, Tomlin's mystique, like, oh, they weren't even going to beat the Ravens. They end up beating the Ravens. Just what the Steelers do. Like, this seems like a spot for them. Wasn't surprised it went to 3, and now we're seeing it on Game Night, Kevin. Like, I'm looking at FanDuel right now, -2.5 at a -122 price, and I don't disagree. Like, I don't love the game tonight, but you know what I'm going to do? Not going to take Houston laying a field goal or more in this game. That's definitely not what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm not desperate to bet the side here, though I would lean towards Houston in this game. Donnie, do you think that this total is a little too low, considering all but, one of these games we've seen, 40-plus points in them?
I keep saying to myself, like, this game does scream that we're not going to have a shootout like 55-plus points. But let's do the breakdown and math here in this game, Kevin. It's not, you know what? It's Pittsburgh tonight. There's snow in the forecast. It's going to be 16 degrees and 40-mile-an-hour winds. Like, Dome team's not going to like that. We're talking 32 degrees, no precipitation whatsoever, and winds at Acrisure tonight, like 5 to 10 miles per hour, which is like a beach day in Pittsburgh. So I do think the opportunities to push the football down the field do make some sense. Am I in love with it? But, boy, you're asking a thin line, Kevin. 20-17, and you almost get that total. That's barely any points at all.
Yeah, it's very low, but it also feels like it's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. And you're like, of course it's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. It can kind of be a little unsettling there. Anything in the props market, DRS, that's really caught your eye for this one?
Yeah, looking at secondary options, like most people are going to jump in, like, yeah, Nico Collins should get 5 catches or 65 yards. He's the main guy, but also understand this. The defenses know that as well. Coverage is going to be rolled to those players. And when you look at 3 cornerbacks in the NFL are sensational, Houston's got those. So if you're saying DK Metcalf's coming back is going to break loose, well, maybe he does tonight. But me, I'm looking towards Adam Thielen and the tight ends. And most importantly, I don't think you can go wrong. I don't care how public it is. Kenny Gainwell is getting 10 targets tonight. So make what you want. He might catch 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or all 10 of those. I think he does go over his number as well. But Higgins is a guy I watch on Houston and watch him all year long. Has limited opportunities the past couple weeks, but also understand this again. Good night to throw the football, big arm quarterback, secondary options. You're not asking for a lot. I think Higgins is around like 26.5, 27.5. He should be able to do that. So for me, I'm looking secondary options. Touchdown props tonight. Don't really love them, even though you're getting great price points because we're sitting, Kevin, at 38 points as a total. I'm looking more for secondary options, playing it light tonight. When I saw the schedule come out for Wild Card Weekend, this is one of those games I was like, man, that's going to be a tough one to handicap, and it is a tough one to handicap.
The one element, though, Donnie, you mentioned Gainwell, that I've been gravitating to a little bit, though I haven't played just yet, is the potential to bet Jaylen Warren in the receiving game because of how, like, to me, Donnie, when Jaylen Warren's out there, I feel as if Houston's defense is going to be like, okay, guys, run, run, run. I feel like one of those play-action screens, Jaylen Warren catches one ball for 15 yards and you're done for the day.
It makes sense. And also, Kevin, just correlate the game itself. Oh, no, pocket guy in court. Like, this isn't Aaron Rodgers 2012. He can't move around all that much. Heavy pass rush coming from the other side. That doesn't mean 7-step drop to DK Metcalf for 50-yard bombs. That means let me get the football out of my hands to my shortest completions. Tight end, slot receiver, and running backs.
Yeah, 100%. DRS, let me just ask you about a couple of other games here before we let you go. Appreciate it, of course, as always.
Sure.
The Rams nearly losing to Carolina. Do you just chalk that up to being the playoffs, or is there some real alarm bells here?
No, there's a lot. Look, again, we look at the Eagles, pound for pound, maybe the best roster in football. Something is wrong with them. No, I don't think anything's wrong with the Rams. But let's be honest. The last month and a half of the season, this isn't 38-10 every week like we're expecting for the Rams. They're barely pulling some of these games out. There's some mojo going on for Chicago that I think can happen. Also, keep an eye. I don't care what anybody says. Hey, Matthew Stafford didn't break his finger. You think that finger is going to be swollen up this week and a little bit uncomfortable, and then you go into Chicago when you're a dome team staying outdoors for a back-to-back road game? I'm not interested in taking the Rams this weekend. I'm really looking towards Chicago. But no surprise, Kevin. 6 out of every 10 tickets are coming in on Chicago right now. But no, I think the Rams are the best team overall, pound-for-pound, player-wise. But I'm not looking at this team as nobody can beat them anymore. They should have lost last week to Carolina. And by the way, November 30th, they did lose to Carolina. They're not invincible.
Yeah, they did. They did, which I thought worked against Carolina, having to beat that Rams team twice. I agree. Had they played the Niners, I think they would have been live. I actually think they could have very well been live against Seattle if the matchup broke that way. In the AFC, DRS, Buffalo beating Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing I can say for Buffalo is they did not use up a A++ game out of Josh Allen, at least in my opinion. What did you think about Buffalo?
Look, I thought Jacksonville was the better team in that game, and I thought they would win the game. But, hey, when you have a quarterback that's not going to give in like Josh Allen, that man gutted that entire game out, and when you needed that big drive, he got it there. But also, he got beat up. You're hearing, he sore this week. You got a team fully rested in elevation waiting for them. But, again, reading the line, that's a stone-cold Bills line. How are the Bills favored on the road against the 1 seed that's rested and waiting for them? That's crazy, man. It is. Just crazy.
But that is, I've been saying this, DRS. I think Buffalo, who started the playoffs as a 1.5-point favorite, I know where the line moved. I don't think they'll play in a game as a dog unless it's the Rams. Like, I think even if they play Seattle, they'll get flipped to favorites because of the amount of bets you'll see on Buffalo.
And also the Buffalo, what they're doing. Like, so a lot of people are talking about, Kevin, the winner of that Buffalo Bills-Jacksonville Jaguars game might win the Super Bowl, or at least will win the AFC. Well, they won that game. They beat the Buffalo Bills. Like, what are we starting to doubt now? You go on the road, beat Jacksonville, ultra-talented, red-hot at the end of the season. Then you knock off the 1 seed? Yeah, I would agree. That's a hot team coming in at the right time. We'll see if they can get the wide receiver help they need. But Josh Allen sometimes feels like it's all you need out there.
You betting college hoops yet?
I'm not betting college hoops yet, but keeping an eye on him. Some good numbers out there. But, Kevin, I'm telling you, the NBA, I like the Sixers. I haven't watched a Sixers game yet this season, not even for 30 seconds, and I'm crushing the NBA. The NBA secret, take teams that everybody thinks stinks on a night-to-night basis. You're golden, man. Tonight, Pacers, take them. I got them at 6. Look, I'm getting CLV already. I'm so sharp in the morning as it's down to 5 points right now. Pacers might win outright tonight. What an easy sport to bet, man. Oof.
The power of waking up with the early line. Donnie Rightside, we appreciate it. Best bets, everything you need. Texans Steelers next.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also say healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. Yeah, he's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, back at the right here on SportsGrid. And we decided to lock in. We decided to make it work here with Aaron Rodgers and figure out how to play I think Rodgers tonight, using DraftKings, where I think we are best served as far as a straight number, but also as far as the alts. I'll say this. I feel most comfortable, right now, listen, some books are offering up these refunds with injury. I gravitate to that a little bit. I find that to be tempting. So DK on Aaron Rodgers ladder, that's where we're going to go and make it work here with his pass attempts prop. So the baseline number is 33.5. That checks in at minus 104. As we said, Rodgers has gone over that number in 4 of his 5 games to close out this season. Now, I have played Rodgers kind of through every level that they are offering up here on DraftKings. Now, it's always up to you to figure out how you want to slice it and, lay these numbers out. I skipped over the 36. So 38's plus 224, 40 is plus 329. Depending on also if, DraftKings right now has a number of different boosts available. I know some people got live bet boosts from yesterday, so you can use those as well. 42 is plus 529, 44 plus 790, and I did even take a piece of the 46 at plus 1280. Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 47 times against the Baltimore Ravens. My belief is if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers, when did you start to let Rodgers rip it? Second half against Baltimore. You need to carry that over here. I think you see Pittsburgh come out tempo, check down. And I think they are going to be I think that is going to be the best way for them to attack against Houston. I think Rodgers will be at his most comfortable in that way. I feel myself, and I've joked about it, I've had this pull towards the AFC North all season, right? The preseason bet on Cincinnati to win the Super Bowl. The consideration of in-season, which was nearly, by the way, a preseason bet on Baltimore. Then the in-season pull towards Baltimore. Then a momentary belief that Cincinnati was going to win the division. Then all of a sudden, wait a minute, what if there's value on Pittsburgh? Then never mind, the Ravens are going to get this done. And then here we are once again on Pittsburgh. And what I will say on this Steelers team, from a value perspective, you're getting 15-1 right now on them to win the AFC. This is a home game here tonight. If they win it, surely, yes, beating New England for what would be a second time, by the way, is not an easy task that would sit in front of them. It's going to be under a touchdown, though. And if they get that victory, they're either going to go to Denver, which is not going to be an incredibly big spread. That's just the nature of the Broncos right now, right? Or they host Buffalo. And I think there's going to be some temptation there. I do. So that line's not going to be, monstrous, right? It's not going to be out of control. Either number. I'm not on Pittsburgh. I'm just saying I see the vision. I mean, honestly, you could make I know the number is much less, but the numbers will be much shorter on Houston. Like, if you're a big believer in New England, that's a different story. But if you are not, the Steelers-Texans numbers, knowing that if they're playing Buffalo, they're at home, and if they're playing Denver, it's going to be a shorter line due to how Denver's perceived. Again, you guys know I'm in on the Broncos, right? Stage of elimination, runner-up, that's where I think the best value is on the Broncos. But I'm just saying, if you're someone who's like, man, I want to bet Houston, I want to bet Pittsburgh, is it worth it? I do think you're getting worthwhile numbers entering into tonight's matchup. We're going to take a break here on this Monday night. Get Tom Vecchio's thought on this game and the weekend that was next on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got a Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. We are live on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh joined by Tom Vecchio. Always great to talk some football here with Tom. How are we feeling on a Monday, Tom?
We're doing good. I will
That's
say
a
things
lie.
are hopefully things are trending up from here on out. We are in for a game tonight. I don't know if it's going to be exciting or not, but we're in for a game tonight. I hope that the Texans win. That's where I'm at with them. I'm on their money line, minus 150. I'm on the Montreal Canadiens money line, minus 180. Let's get some wins across the board.
What do you bet the Canadians every night?
No, I bet them a couple nights ago, and shout out to Chris. He was actually right for once. Casino Chris rolling up on that. And then they lost their most recent game, and they're just better than the Canucks. So I'll take the Habs at home.
Well, guess what, Tom? Chris is on the Texans money line again. So how do you feel about that?
Honestly, maybe we're building something. We might, maybe we're simpatico at this point.
Yeah, I think that's on the board. I think that's certainly something for us to – a trend could be building here. And I think it's something for people to really keep in mind. Tell me why you like the Texans in this game, Tom.
So their defense is just the best of any unit that's on the field, right? Offense, defense of the two teams. The Texans' defense is by far better than any of the other units by leaps and bounds. The Texans might have one of the best defense in the entire league between them, between Denver, 1A, 1B. The Texans' offense, not great. We've known it all season. Very inept. They don't have the explosive plays. Nico Collins is great, but we're just not sure what we're going to get out of them on a consistent day in and day out basis. The Steelers' defense, we know that it's pretty mediocre to say, the best, and they have been extremely inconsistent. They've looked good against the run in some recent games. They're terrible against Derrick Henry. They were good against Cleveland. They were good against Miami. They were great against Detroit, but also their offense is really one of the worst in the league. And, outside of DK Metcalf, again, I'm not just sure how much talent that we have. So I trust the Texans defense to shut down a mediocre Steelers offense, and the Texans defense just to power them to the win, really.
What do you expect tonight, Tom, from DK Metcalf? Booked between 53.5 and 56.5 in the market for a receiving yards prop.
Well, my favorite DK bet is to catch a pass on the first drive at plus 160. They got to get him going early. And a part of that is they also just need to challenge the Texans defense and challenge Derek Stingley, who's going to cover him in some capacity, that at least that they're willing to go to him, right? Because so much of the time throughout the season, like teams just don't throw to where Stingley is. But combined with him coming off the suspension, they at least need to show that they're willing to press that button and go to DK to challenge that. Because if they are at least moderately successful with that, that will open up the rest of the field. That will open up the play action. That will open up Kenny Gainwell coming out of the backfield, who I also do like tonight. So they need to do that. Even if he's not going to have 90 yards tonight and 2 touchdowns, but he at least needs to be involved that he's some of a threat.
So it's interesting because with Metcalf's suspension, a lot of people tried to point to that for why they lost to Cleveland, and I thought that really overstated Metcalf's value to this football team. Or at least production it overstated. If you look on the year, he has had 50 receiving yards in 7 of 15 games. That's not awful, but like for a number one receiver, it doesn't light it up. But again, I saw 56.5 out there, so if we use 57 as the barrier for entry, he's cleared that 4 times. 4. Now, it's been in smash spots. He has a game of 83, 126, 95, and 148. But it does not, Metcalf, Tom, profiles as one of these classic wide receivers. He's not getting you through yardage numbers without that long reception coming in.
It's true. And like, if we weren't facing the Texans defense, which I like the utmost respect for, I would say if you're interested in his over, like when he does go over, to your point, Kev, it's like he doesn't just get to 56 or 70, or he gets like 80, 90. So like I would be interested in his alts if I was taking that approach. I'm not taking that approach, but that's what you're essentially alluding to. Like when he does go over, it's huge. But more often than not, it's like it's just pretty modest. It's just pretty like the saying that they use is Jag. It's like just a guy. Like he's just a receiver some games, and that's how the offense operates.
Yeah, I'm not enamored with Metcalf. I'll say though, I think there is a little buyer beware on the Kenneth Gainwell numbers tonight. Not that he can't get there, but the volume that's being expected. Like Tommy had a 9-target game. Metcalf was out. Like, again, unless we've got Rodgers throwing for 350 yards, like I like his attempts, but I'm not positive it's going to lead to a number of completions. I think, I think there's underneath stuff. I just think some of these. I think Pittsburgh is a tricky team for me to feel great about outside of my Rodgers bets.
So this is what I would say about Kenny Gainwell, who I really do like the role that he has played, but he has like been consistent in the passing offense. So his receiving yards, reception prop, whatever, has gone up and up. And we're also looking at that sample size, not in what the Steelers are going to bring us tonight because Metcalf is back. So he's going over all these numbers when Metcalf is out, and now we're getting an inflated number, and we're not getting a discount on that. So I like him tonight because I think he will play a role, but that doesn't mean I love his prop tonight.
Yeah, I'm not though, as I think there's a guys on the Texans, Tom, where I guess my worry on Pittsburgh is I'm not sure who breaks through. With Houston, it feels like a handful of guys could have big nights. Because the Collins number at 71.5 is not outrageous. He's more than capable of hitting 100. But then your very low numbers on your Jaden Higgins, your Christian Kirk, your Jalen Noel. I mean, these are really short numbers here tonight.
Yeah, I would say Higgins and Schultz would be my next 2 favorite. Like I think Nico Collins is awesome. I'm confident in him basically in a week in, week out basis, especially with his deep ball potential. But Schultz and Higgins are certainly my favorites to be going to. I will say I do like Woody Marks under 15.5 attempts. It's a bit much for me to believe that they're going to trust a rookie running back when you have Nick Chubb, when you have George Jordan, and you can rotate these guys in that any one of them would see 16, 17 attempts. Could I see 3 of them or 2 of them getting to 11 or 12 or 13? Sure. I think that's part of what the Texans want to do. They want to rotate these backs in, but Marks himself having 16 or 17 attempts is a bit too much.
Yeah, I don't think that Woody Marks has kind of proven to be Some of these rookie running backs, have hit, Tom. This is a Houston team who's going to have to circle back to the running back room. They're going to have to circle back to that running back room. I don't even know how great he is, to be honest, Tom.
I think he's like
3.6 a carry. I know the offensive line's not great, but
right. I think he's like a good, serviceable back, but that's why like there's nothing like 17 carries, 18 carries from Woody Marshall would shock me.
Well, the problem is, I think some of that number is because they are just like, Ryans, if he gets a lead, they're just going to just try and run the ball. And I know D'Amico's not the play caller, so maybe that's a little unfair, but the Texans have had this conservative nature while changing play callers under Ryans. So I think that's why he gets footed with a bit of that blame when we think about this team being aggressive here overall.
Yeah, that's definitely been the Texans' like bugaboo, essentially, where it's like they get the lead and all of a sudden it's like, why is this other team still hanging around? Like we saw it in that Saturday game, Texans Chargers, whenever that was, a couple of weeks ago at the middle of December, the 27th. I don't remember, but it's like, why are the Chargers hanging around after you had like 3 plays to get down the field? And what did C.J. Stroud had like 150 yards in the first quarter for those 2 long touchdowns, and then so how are the Chargers still in this game? It's like you have to go for the throat when you can. If you have this amazing of a defense, the offense needs to be aggressive, and you go up by 3 scores. Stop settling for field goals.
Yeah, the total in this one, Tom, so low. Like, I know for you, sometimes you see a big total, you're like, listen, that's just too high. You'll take an under. Is this the inverse for you?
It's so tough. Like, you know me, like if it's 46, I'm like, man, I love the under. But if it's 44, I'm like, I'm not sure about that. This game being 20-17 or 21-17 is so thin that I just don't know if there's enough margin of error. So a quick score, I'm looking to live bet the under.
Okay, I think that's fair. And by the way, that's exactly how the Houston game against the Chargers played out. Like, I was going to bet that over, was kicking myself, and then ended up being excellent because the Texans completely shut down. Let's get Tom's thought on the rest of the weekend next.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Live on a Monday night, Kevin Walsh joined by Tom Vecchio. Tom, taking a look here at what the weekend offered up. There was a lot of craziness and there was a lot of silliness. I'll throw it to you this. There's going to be temptation. Do not go through every game. The number one game that stood out to you from the wild card round so far?
The number one game, that's a good question. I would say, the Rams. And, it started early, and, the Rams, something about them, like, I think they are really good, but there's a lack of sometimes urgency where it's like, I don't know if they're lulling us into like a false sense of security. It's like, why are you allowing the Panthers to hang around? You have this good of a defense. How are you letting them come back? Why are you not be able to move the ball on offense? So, that is concerning going on the road potentially in 2 straight games just to get to the Super Bowl. I think they beat the Bears, but I'm not sure about that next game anymore.
Yeah, the Rams have, listen, the matchup dependent, though, is going to matter. I just think we've seen the Rams fully show that they are not in a class of their own, and I think that that's important. Can I ask you this question, though, Tom, with L.A.? If they gave out an MVP of that game, do you think it goes to Stafford or Puka Nacua?
It probably goes to Stafford just based on the moments, like the winning touchdown throw. Like they would never give it to Colby Parkinson, but I think they would just give it to Stafford almost by default.
I think Puka, it felt like had it wrapped up for a while, but I think that fact that the touchdown drive was capped off with a non-Puka touchdown, right? It probably does go to Stafford. When you look at the game between the Bears and the Packers, with all due respect to Colston Loveland's brilliant performance, Caleb Williams, even in throwing multiple interceptions, would have been crowned a unanimous MVP of that game. Did you come away more impressed with Chicago or infuriated by Green Bay?
I think it's a bit of both, honestly. Like Green Bay collapsed, absolute just fraud central up there, really across the board. Outside of Jordan Love. Jordan Love played awesome. You have a quarterback that throws 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. The game's not his fault, right? It's basically everyone else. But for the Bears, early in the game, they were getting out coached. They were getting outplayed. Williams was making, errors. But, like, we have a rookie head coach. We have a young team quarterback in his first ever playoffs. Like, they went through a lot of growing pains, and then they remedied that in a quarter. So credit to them for struggling early, fixing things, and then coming out on top. And, there is some magic with them, if you just want to call it like the cardiac kids. Just keep finding a way to come back. So I think they have to settle in, early in against the Rams. They can't fall down 17-0. Keep it within arm's reach, and they'll always have a chance to win.
Yeah, so, Tom, taking a look at Buffalo and Jacksonville, Josh Allen and the run game didn't really have it going. And even in the passing game, it wasn't electric. There were a few big plays. But I think that being true in a victory is really a positive for Buffalo. I think if the Bills, it's a shame because this is actually if you were going to tell me Buffalo was going to win, my dream scenario is they win like 42-17. And everybody's in, and they throw everything at the wall, and then they're kind of set up to have the rug pulled out from underneath them in the following game. What did you take away from Bills-Jags?
Going into one of my favorite bets was Allen over 273 passing plus rushing. And the same thing I've said about the Bills all season was true in this game. There's no superstar in the receiving game. James Cook is there. He had a very modest game when it's all said and done, only 51 combined yards, if I remember correctly. But Josh Allen makes players around him better. He is a talent elevator. So when you have a Cooks and you have a Clear Shakir had a great game, and you have Knox and Kincaid, and you have all these different players, Josh Allen is good enough that he can get them open. Like the defense will have like a Steph Curry gravity term. Like there's such a gravity to Steph Curry. There's a gravity to Josh Allen that the defense has to be worried about him. Therefore, the players that are average receivers, he makes them better because the defense has to be worried about Josh Allen to such a degree. So it's like it's a rising tide lifts all ships kind of mentality where you have a bunch of good receivers, but Josh Allen makes them great.
How much does the loss hurt the perception of Trevor Lawrence?
I wouldn't say that much. Like it's a huge turnaround year, and I think it's a very positive step for the Jags. But the same thing I would say about a lot of teams. Like I think the Jags were a season early. Like such a dramatic turnaround. What was it, 13 or 12 losses last year to 13 wins this year? It's like they need to settle in. They need a little more veteran presence on the team. There's just so much inconsistency with getting Myers in and BTJ. Stabilize the offense, and I think they do have a nice ceiling. And I think they should be one of the co-favorites to win the division next year.
The one thing for me watching this game, I thought it was a bit of a shame we weren't watching Travis Hunter, just because I think that would have been incredibly fun.
Yeah.
I don't really know where Travis Hunter fits in offensively next year. They rushed to pay Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Parker Washington is obviously going to be a part of what they do. Brian Thomas Jr., there were in-season thoughts that they could trade him, but that just feels bizarre. I don't know. Like, Travis Hunter, it's such a bizarre thing. The Jags needing Travis Hunter to be their wide receiver 4 is probably actually great because then he can play more corner. But I feel like it's not what any of us signed up for.
I would say I want to see him commit to one or the other. Like this
but that's not what they traded for, right? Like them trading up for him, kind of like they are the team who wants to embrace him doing both.
But so then they just have to be willing to say they have to eat the fact that he's going to be bad on offense because there's just not going to be enough rhythm. He's not going to be playing a lot of snaps. They have to get the other guys more consistent. Yeah. And like if he's out there, the defense are going to be like, oh, hang on, he plays 30% of the snaps game. He's out here for these snaps. Like we should actually focus in on him. And then it's just like then he's just eliminated from the offense. He may have spike weeks as we saw against the Chiefs, if I remember correctly, but they need more from him more consistently.
So here's the crazy thing, just because I'm sure not everybody will fully remember this. The last time we saw Travis Hunter, he had 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown on the Los Angeles Rams. I know some of it was garbage time, but it's like, oh, the corner might be turning. And then the rug pulled out. Tom, great as always. We'll talk coaches next on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions, we get set for the matchup between Pittsburgh and Houston. And is this Aaron Rodgers' last game? Is on the board, and I think we're all prepared for that. I, though, may have been sleeping on the world where this is Mike Tomlin's last game in Pittsburgh. If you look on the prediction market, Kalshi, a pretty wide-spanning market of which coaches will be out before September, there is only one coach, as they have yes-no markets, whose market looks like they believe, yeah, we could see it as much as we can. And that's Mike Tomlin. I felt, because of how the Steelers are, and I think they take a lot of pride in not running through and cycling through a bunch of coaches, I felt that once they won the division, Tomlin was safe. I mean, he's only 53 years old, so, I mean, coaching-wise, that's not old at all. And if they lose, they lose. But with the quarterback potentially retiring, you know, would Pittsburgh, again, in a loss, really be looking for a full reset? Again, I wasn't really expecting it. But these markets don't get moved or set up where they are without reason, without bets, without, you know, wagers being placed. So I feel like Tomlin maybe steps away, maybe gets fired, maybe a mutual parting of ways, is somewhat on the board if they lose this game, maybe lose it in ugly fashion. That's what the numbers say. Though, wouldn't you think the reporters would be talking about it a little bit more, right? Like, wouldn't Shefty or Rappaport or Pelissaro, one of the other guys at NFL Network, hey, like, just saying, could be Tomlin's last game. Maybe they are. Maybe they are. And I've missed it. That's all, I mean, it's on the board, but I don't think I have. There's a couple of other interesting names here right now. Another one that stands out a bit is, of course, Nick Sirianni. And when you think about this postseason and the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, this is a situation that Nick Sirianni put himself in, flatly. The Philadelphia Eagles had a very, very clear problem on their hands in their offensive coordinator, who is a very good friend of Nick Sirianni, that a team, by the way, did not look like they had beaming confidence in when he was given that job from the jump. And despite clear and obvious warning signs, nothing in the second half against Dallas week 1, meh performance in week 2 against Kansas City, nothing in the first half against the Los Angeles Rams, nothing in the second half against Tampa Bay. Despite a 4-0 start, they were like, nah. And then you got the losses to Denver and New York, and everyone's like, obviously, clearly, we're going to see a change. And then they won 2 in a row, and then they hit the bye. You're like, maybe it'll be different out of the bye. They've been steadfast. They're not going to change it. They scored 10 in a win against Green Bay, but you scored 10. 16 in a win against Detroit, score 16. And then loss. How could you keep moving forward? But it was all too far gone. At that point, the Eagles had made their bed. Nick Sirianni by not removing Kevin Patullo, Howie Roseman for not stepping in. We are going to ride this out. And they did, to an unacceptable result. A roster that brought back loads of talent in what is seen as a wide open field were eliminated by a bandage squad Niners because the offense had no rhythm, no continuity, like it has always. And that's why, of course, Patullo will be fired. But how Sirianni is safe in the face of that is a little lost on me. And this is a simple challenge for those who are carrying the water for Nick Sirianni today. You know who you are. Tell me what he's good at without letting me know his record. I'll wait. We talk to Mike Blewett next.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October, unless they get a really good veteran quarterback. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh. In comes the voice of reason, Mike Blewett, who it is always great to talk to, especially great on a night like this where the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be playing some playoff football against the Houston Texans. Mike, there's a lot of different avenues we can walk here, but we may go blow for blow on coach conversations. I'll start with the Eagles. Again, Kevin Patullo this is my take. Patullo not already being announced as fired is a bad sign for Sirianni that they are considering his future as well. What do you make of the Eagles coaching staff and really the group as a whole after the loss to the Niners?
Well, I know which way you're headed with that conversation. I think it stands to reason that you could be right. But we did see recently with both Harbaugh, McDaniel, even to some extent Matt Eberflus, where they were let go a day or two or three or more after we thought it would normally happen. The Ravens, in fact, the Ravens situation was particularly unique in that from everything that you read now, you have to take everything, I suppose, with a grain of salt, but trusted reporters are stating that as of Monday, the day after the Ravens season, everybody thought he was coming back, that John Harbaugh was coming back. And then additional conversations ensued, and it led to Harbaugh being let go. Now, what you said both on air and off air is that the Eagles have a very difficult culture issue right now to work through. Does that get solved by just jettisoning A.J. Brown? I find that hard to believe. It's usually a two-man game when there's all kinds of issues going on like that. And you can try to get rid of what you phrase to be the bad apple or make out to be the bad apple. But like I said, two-way street. I think there's ways you can get past that as professionals, and they were unable to do it. So I share some, I don't know if it's optimism or pessimism, depending on where you sit, but I think Sirianni could be gone. But he shouldn't be because they lost to the Niners. You know, it's much bigger than that.
Totally agree. So I hate doing this, but listen, people pop in and out all the time, and there are perceptions involved with everything. I'm sure people are like, loud, brash Eagle fan, you want everybody fired. I didn't want Nick fired 2 years ago, and I think accurately at the time pointed out that the start to his career was on track to set him up as a potential all-time great. I defended Nick Sirianni even in the Green Bay game when they took that nonsensical deep shot to A.J. Brown. That's not because that's how I saw things. And then the game against Detroit, everything he did was wrong. Like, every decision was wrong. And then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And again, like, I know these are the things that people don't care about, but this is why I don't think I should be grouped in with, loud knuckleheads who are in the stadium. Week 18 was an abomination. Not because they sat starters, because they did not need starters to beat a lifeless Commanders team. They needed a competent game plan of giving the ball to Tank Bigsby, and instead they tried to showcase Tanner McKee, and it grenaded into their face. Like, that's where you lose me. And I don't think it's any question that Sirianni lost this locker room. Mike, he learned all of the wrong lessons from last season, convinced himself that infighting is a recipe or one of the key ingredients in being a successful team. No, they're not. They're not. They're just not a thing. Buffalo got rid of Stephon Diggs, and they've been better for it, right? Like, it's just all of the wrong things, I think, is what we've seen from Sirianni. But interestingly, not the only coach that some markets believe, Mike, could be out. In fact, the markets appear to believe it's far more likely that Mike Tomlin could be out of Pittsburgh. But you'll have a better pulse of this than I. Is this a fire situation? A go-do TV situation? What's the story here with Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh?
I hear a lot of the chatter about Mike Tomlin, how good he'll be on TV. And I think that's objectively, I think they're probably right. I think he could be really good on TV. There's certainly people on TV, not in this network excluded, obviously. I love everybody on this network. But there's other people we see on TV, former coaches, former players that take it or leave it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not going to throw anybody under the bus, tell them they're bad at their jobs. But I think Tomlin's better than some of those people. And he could certainly excel to the extent that he wants. However, he has never come off to me as a guy that really was angling to do TV. He dismisses a lot of reports, in quotes, that have come out over the years. Like, hey, would you take a college job? Remember somebody asked him about if he wanted to take I can't remember which college job was open, and he just walked away from the podium. He didn't even answer the question. So
I think it was USC.
Yeah, it's USC. That's right. So I do not think Mike Tomlin. I think Mike Tomlin is the head coach of the Steelers week 1 of 2026. A blowout tonight would be a real bad look.
Okay.
And I think you have to have hard conversations. But I don't think it's the way they do things. I think they'd have a little bit better plan in place. When Bill Cowher stepped away, he was burnt out. He was going through a lot personally. He was burnt out, and he walked away. And that's when the Steelers started their search. Tomlin has now been the coach longer than Bill Cowher, and I presume they would have intelligent discussions amongst one another as to what the succession plan is or what Tomlin's future is for this team. I think that's what sunk Harbaugh really, is that it seemed to be more of a status quo answer for him, and the Ravens weren't having it. I just don't think that Tomlin makes all the decisions there. Omar Khan, really a family that's owned the team for over 100 years. I think it's a lot more of a group discussion and not Tomlin making all those decisions. And I think they'd come to some sort of realization of what this looks like. An extension, new coordinators, what does it look like? And I expect him to be the coach, but I can't say I'll be completely floored if they get blown out and they decide to go in another direction. If the Ravens can get rid of Harbaugh, the Steelers can get rid of Tomlin. It's just, you and I have talked about it a lot. They've made 2 coaching changes in my lifetime.
Well,
it's
yeah,
insane.
So my thing is, I just felt Tomlin winning the division guaranteed the job if he wanted it. The market kind of tells another story. And what I would say, not that you're saying that it's a one-to-one comparison, but I think the main reason Harbaugh was out is I think Lamar wanted him out. And Tomlin's quarterback is even likelier to not be back next season, what most would expect. So I guess I don't think Baltimore was pumped to fire Harbaugh. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think they were kind of put in a tough spot. I don't know who in Pittsburgh would be kind of banging that table. And what's very interesting, though, is if they went that direction, I think, based on, how Mike has always done a great job informing us, like the way Pittsburgh operates, they wouldn't be looking at like a Harbaugh, right? They'd probably look for a young coach to then give themselves an opportunity to have them there for another 2 decades, potentially, of Steeler football, right, Mike?
Yeah, I think you'd have Brian Flores, somebody that coached in Pittsburgh, would be near the top of their list. He's a younger coach, and I think somebody that has experience that they would appreciate, has run good teams before, good defenses, obviously now in Minnesota. I think you'd look at somebody like him and not an aging coach like Harbaugh. No disrespect to him, but he's not going to be there for 15 years.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to see what Mike likes tonight between the Steelers and the Texans on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Giggles, at Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October, unless they get a really good veteran quarterback. Maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this hit maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll also stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got a Dunze. He's got you got DJ Moore. You got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here on Sports Grid. Kevin Walsh, we're joined by Mike Blewett, who leads our in-game coverage on Sundays here on Sports Grid. We'll continue to do that throughout the NFL playoffs all the way up until the Super Bowl, where we will crown a new champion, of course, this year. Could it be one of these two teams? Why not? I mean, if it's open, why not? Mike, do you feel strongly about a side in this game between the Steelers and Texans?
I think you're saying if not now, when, right, Kev? Why not this year? I really do think that Houston in particular has a very good chance if they get past this game. I think I've thought since the start of the playoffs they were clearly a challenger. I've thought that since before the playoffs. I thought they're a real challenger. Obviously, they didn't get the division, but the fact that they've ripped off 9 games in a row, really impressive. I would say that the spread has now come down to 2.5. I was a buyer in the Steelers. I sort of feel the same way this week as I felt last week with the Steelers. They're getting 3 points at home. They're incredible as underdogs. They haven't lost a home Monday night game since 1991. There's a lot of trends that go towards the Steelers. So I'm going to take the number at 3. 2.5 changes things, but I'll take it at 3. It was even at 3.5 in some places. Now, in order for the Steelers to actually win, I think they're going to have to establish the run in some way. And the Steelers' offensive line has gotten better over the year. There's no standouts or first-team all-pros on it, but they've now played a lot of snaps together. They've used, I think, the second least offensive line combinations in the league this year, so they've stayed relatively healthy. And I do think that that's going to be an important part of it. The Texans can get to Rodgers with 4 without blitzing, so the Steelers are going to have to counteract that with picking up some gains on the ground. Doesn't have to be 200 yards, but Gainwell and Warren are going to have to be an important part of this offense, running and catching the ball and trying to get Will Anderson and Hunter abated to some extent. So that's what I think the game plan is. A prop that I like, Pat Freiermuth. I think the 33.5 receiving yards is too low. Now, he's going to have to stay in to block some, but we saw certainly in the last month of the season, he's making big plays, touchdowns, and becoming a part of the offense that's been really important to them. With DK Metcalf back, it helps the offense, even if he doesn't put up huge numbers. And I think he can open it up in the middle of the field for Freiermuth. So 33.5, a low enough number. That's my favorite prop for tonight, but I know you have some with Rodgers that I agree with as well.
Yeah, so I played Rodgers over his passing attempts prop and then played a number of alts on that same thing. I just think it is paramount for the Steelers to play quick. I actually think it's interesting. Again, we have very cyclical sports always. Last night, the Eagles did not use tempo enough. If you are Pittsburgh and you want to neutralize this plus pass rush, you go quick. You take when you're going quick like that, 2nd and 5 to 3rd and 2 to 1st and 10, like that's how that works. And I think that is how Pittsburgh should look to operate here. It will make a Will Anderson, a Danielle Hunter second guess themselves in this game. It also just simply, Mike, is more plays. And that then can give us more volume. In the last game Rodgers played, he threw the ball 47 times, and they won.
Yep.
So I don't think Pittsburgh looks at that and goes, oh, man, we can't throw it that many times. Yes, you can. He threw it 41 times against Detroit. You won. This is a team that I think, again, I know it might sound a little wild against this Texans defense, but I think the only way to beat them is to actually let Rodgers throw it a bunch, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, he's hit this 4 out of the last 5 games. Aaron Rodgers has hit over 30 pass attempts. And you're right. And it also, too, Kevin, puts a little bit of pressure on Stroud, who got off to a great start his last game out. But it puts some pressure on Stroud. If you limit the number of plays that C.J. Stroud has, puts a little bit of pressure on him. This Steelers defense, yes, it's a little bit older, and they absolutely blew 2 huge plays against Baltimore in that 4th quarter. But for a lot of the game, they punched back when they were down. Derrick Henry looked great early, but the Steelers stopped the scoring at 10 until the fourth quarter. They blow a couple of plays in the fourth quarter, inexcusable, and Rodgers and company bailed them out. Maybe Tyler Loop bailed the Steelers out more than anything else. But I think putting pressure on Stroud to have to make big plays while not having as many of them could create those turnovers that the Steelers thrive on, right? The Steelers, Bears, and Jaguars, three teams that thrive on turning the ball over, got to the playoffs. Jags lost the turnover battle yesterday and lose. The Steelers win that tonight. They could win a close one. I think the Steelers could win in a close one. I'll take the points. Like I said, I expect Houston to win the game, though, to be honest.
I think it's going to be really fun just to see, though, how that's one of the elements, Mike, with this game that I think is very difficult to figure out, because people talk about, Tomlin can figure it out, right? But what that really usually means is, like, TJ Watt's incredible, right? Like, can we get the TJ Watt to be unbelievable twice in this game? Yes, no. Over 1.5, oh my gosh, he's still TJ Watt's. Like, that very well could determine this football game, Mike.
Definitely. And the Steelers have some playmakers all around the field. Joey Porter Jr. has had a good season. Cam Hayward is a year older, but he absolutely is somebody that still makes plays when they need them. So I'm hoping that TJ Watt does have that incredible game, but they have some other guys. Peyton Wilson, Herbig are out there making plays. So you know that they thrive on linebacker play. It's what the Steelers have done for many years, and they're going to have to do it tonight. They'll have to figure out a way to make enough plays, shorten the game on the Texans. And I think you're right. I think Aaron Rodgers plays a little bit more up-tempo, throws a lot of quick passes.
Excited to watch this one, undoubtedly. We're going to take a quick break here on Game Time decisions. We'll come back. Do you want to get a couple of quick thoughts from Mike on some of the action that he was covering on Sunday? And then we will re-rack your best bets and your primetime producer parlay as well, which, if you missed it, features what could be a full 60-minute sweat. That is next. And it's right here on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little buy or sell. I think it's pretty evident that despite being one of the best tight ends in the history of the NFL, Travis Kelce's play and physicality and everything, with all due respect, took a big step back. This was easily his worst physical season of all. He just didn't look like himself. Travis Kelce will retire after the season. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm probably 60-40 on this that he retires. The only thing I'd say that maybe he returns is because he doesn't want to end the way it ended, not making the playoffs and that sort of thing. But let's just say for Gales and Mahomes, he isn't going to be ready for September or October. And unless they get a really good veteran quarterback, maybe he doesn't want to deal with that either. Go through a training camp, and he may not make the playoffs either next year. So I'm probably 60-40. I think he's done. Too bad. Hall of Fame career. I guess good luck with Travis Swift and your podcast with Jason.
I'm buying this. Andy Reid addressing this question this week. Why? He could have just deferred and said, I don't know, we'll see. Fully answered the question about this maybe being his last game. What does that tell you? He knows. Everybody knows. I'm not 60-40, 90-10. I'm on buy. Bo Nix versus Caleb Williams. You'd rather have Nix over Caleb Williams in a dynasty league.
That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go Caleb here, mainly because he has more running ability than Nix. I think he'll stay healthier than Nix. I might like his receivers more as well. He's got Dunze, he's got you got DJ Moore, you got the good tight ends here. Probably do lean towards Williams here. Not by a hell of a lot. It wouldn't be an easiest choice here, but I'm going to go with Caleb Williams here.
I would agree. It's not that I think that Ben Johnson is a better coach than Sean Payton. I think Ben Johnson is better for Caleb Williams than Sean Payton will be for Bo Nix. I think running is going to be a big part of what Denver does in the future. So there you go. I'll sell.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
decisions. A lot of decisions being made right here, people, on a Monday night. Kevin Walsh, we're closing it out with Mike Blewett. Mike, I do want to ask you, because Jags-Bills, I believe, was the game that you guys got to primarily cover on In-Game Live. And a back-and-forth battle. What was your biggest takeaway from that AFC showdown?
It's probably repetitive to what a lot of other folks are saying, but Allen just made huge plays and took over when they needed to, and they're going to ride him all the way as far as they can. It may only be one more game, although I'm leaning towards taking them in Denver. But I would say this. I was surprised that the Bills were able to slow down the Jags attack. Brian Thomas, I know he's been banged up all year. He did nothing yesterday. Parker Washington was really good, but they didn't get any other big plays. Etienne was making plays early, and then it just sort of didn't happen. It was a back and forth game, really close. I'm not down on the Jaguars for losing that one. I think you lost to the best player on the field, really maybe the best player in the entire league, made enough plays at the end of the game. The interception was a killer.
Yeah.
Just was.
The one thing that I don't know, like,
should the Bills have knelt it and melted 40 seconds off the clock? Definitely.
Yeah, my bigger problem is that Sean McDermott was one of the loudest ban the tush push guys. Just no self-awareness immediately to to be a ban the tush push guy and then to desperately need it in all your biggest moments. That's the sign of a bad head coach. Like, that's how it reads a little bit to me, Mike. I just, like, were you guys tracking this? Actually, I'm curious. Did you guys have live odds on Bashal Tutin, who came into that game, had 3 carries for like 40 yards?
He had 3 carries of 10 plus yards in a row. In fact, how about this, Kev? I was under Bashal Tutin carries yesterday.
What a beat!
He had 4. He had 4 in 5 minutes.
So you like the play calling?
Loved it. After the first 10 minutes, I was all about it. I was on Liam Cohen bandwagon. But yeah, it was a stunning state of affairs, and they just didn't use him again. It's odd, but that's sort of, the Bills got they got stops. It's not something they've been able to do a lot this year, but they got stops when they needed it. You can bash Trevor Lawrence if you want, I suppose, but come on, they lost to a really great player who just made a few more plays. The ending interception was bad. There was no way he was going to complete that pass. Just because you fired it 110 miles an hour doesn't mean anybody's catching it.
Well, I got to tell you, Mike, personally wasn't the best weekend. That really that was a real bright spot. Knowing that you had his undercarries, like, that's what we like to see. That's incredible. Because not that it necessarily would have been a bad, but like, to some degree, I'm sure you're watching. Like, I don't understand, why are they giving it to him every play? Like, that had to be a little frustrating. By the way,
he started ripping off 10-yard runs. I was like, wow.
Got to be tired.
He's going to have 15 carries.
He got to be. Someone pop his helmet. This guy needs some water. That's awesome.
Really, that's
really great.
Yeah, this guy's tapping his helmet. He needs to come out. On the flip side, to throw myself under the bus, and I knew this was a possibility, I picked the wrong running back in New England. I went with Henderson overs, and it was Stevenson all day.
I'll give you 2 quick ones. 1, same. 2, yesterday I was going to take under 3.5 field goals in Jags-Bills. I said, you know what? I'm just betting Matt Prater. Like, Cam Little, is the guy. And then Prater makes 2, Kittle split, little splits. And what are you going to do? All right, let's rip through these picks here. Primetime producer parlay, Collins for 70, Gainwell for 30, Adam Thielen under 1.5 receptions. So enjoy that. Just, you're locked in the whole way to the Thielen show. Should be exciting. I hope the other 2 hit in the first quarter. I just think that would be an absolute delight. Best bets, Steelers, money line. That's how AJ is going to play it. Chris, all about Nico Collins tonight. That's an anytime touchdown. A Sabre point prop? Has it hit already? Certainly not. Sabre, what is this, The Office? When they got bought in around season 5? Doing an Office rewatch. Give me the Mavs team total. Over 111.5. Mike, favorite bet tonight?
My favorite bet is Friar
Yes.
Myth over 33.5. And also, nice job by Yarnell during an NFL playoff game.
In-game live next.